Hello, it's the NFLExporter Ty Goodman, and we're doing a mid-season report for the NFL 2013-14 season. We're now talking about the AFC West. In first place, surprisingly, is the Kansas City Chiefs at 9-0. The Chiefs are led on offense by Pro Bowl running back Jamal Charles, who's doing it all for this team right now, being very effective on the ground, a very tough runner, very explosive, very agile, one of the best in the league. He's also a very good pass catcher out of the backfield, so he's definitely being utilized very effectively. It seems like Andy Reid has learned his lesson. He did not use LaShawn McCoy in this way, but he is using Jamal Charles, a back of the same caliber who can run and also catch out the backfield. Alex Smith. Call him a game manager. I think that is an accurate description. However, it's effective. And he is not turning the ball over. He's executing in a short passing game. He's playing, ball control offense, basically working within the means of his abilities. He doesn't take shots downfield. That is the only question we have, and that's a big time question. You have a player like Dwayne Bowe on your team, and you can't get him the ball. It's very confusing. Bo is a player who led the NFL in TD receptions 2 years ago. We know he has big-time capability, but for whatever reason, he isn't involved in the Chiefs passing game. It's very puzzling. The offensive line is holding up. Rookie Eric Fisher is learning the ropes, but the Chiefs have one of the better lines in the league with players like Brandon Albert on the opposite side tackle. And the Chiefs, again, Dexter McCluster, they're finding ways to utilize him in the passing game as well. So it's pretty much, again, an underneath kind of West Coast offense type of passing style that Andy Reid is bringing to the table, but it's working because on defense, this is a very elite group of players. They've done an excellent job. 8 of the starting 11 players are drafted by the Chiefs. Most of them are pretty much playing at a Pro Bowl level this year. You have to like guys like Tyson Jackson at defensive end, Ontario Poe at defensive tackle, outside linebackers, Justin Houston, Tamba Ali, inside linebacker Derek Johnson, cornerback Brandon Flowers, safety Eric Berry. These guys are playing at a very high level. They're forcing a lot of turnovers. They're creating a lot of pressure on the quarterback. This group is playing very well. And when you have a defense that's playing at this high of a level, you're almost pretty much guaranteed to be in every game. That's why, although it's not that spectacular, the Chiefs do work to their strong suits with a kind of, watered down offense, so to speak, keeping it very simple because this defense is simply dominating this year. Right now, the Chiefs have 7 games left. They play the Broncos twice. Those games will have huge implications on if they win the division. They also have to play San Diego twice as well. So you figure those 4 games are going to hold some heavy weight. At 9-0 though, the Chiefs, unless there's a complete debacle, have assured themselves a playoff spot. They only need 3 more victories to get to 12-4. I think that is a very realistic number to reach. However, I'm not sure if that'll be good enough to knock out the Broncos. Who we are talking about next. Now the Broncos at 7-1, and Manning and company pretty much paved the way. This team is averaging over 40 points a game. Wes Welker did nothing but bolster this offense. The emergence of tight end Julius Thomas took it to another level, and Sean Moreno has proved to be a very valuable running back, carrying the ball as well as catching out the backfield. Peyton Manning is on a record-setting pace. The only worries you have is the offensive line. Ryan Clady had some injury issues early. He should be good to go down the stretch. They also just had a player leave the team on the offensive guard. They also had already lost Dan Copen to start the year off. And we know that one of the recipes to stopping Manning in that offense is creating pressure. But all things are a go. I don't see this juggernaut slowing down at all. I expect him to continue to score right around 40 points a game, and usually that is good enough to get you a victory. On the defensive side of the ball, they are still gelling. Von Miller is kind of rounding into form. He missed the first 4 games due to suspension. The secondary has held up pretty well. Denver, like New England and like the Indianapolis of old that Peyton Manning used to have, is pretty much a situation where the offense is scoring so many points, you really expect your defense just to kind of hold up. And that's what the Broncos have been able to do thus far. Get some turnovers, create pressure when teams get into one-dimensional, trying to play catch-up to the offense. So I expect for this group to be able to hold its own, but it has shown in a couple games that it may be weak in some areas, and particularly the secondary, versus the Colts, in which they lost, and as well as the Cowboys put up a ton of yards and points, and those were both road games. So you might want to be a little bit wary of the Denver on the road. At the end of the day, I do believe that Denver will be at 12-4. Again, I don't know how the tiebreaker situation will play out between, they play San Diego twice, they also play Kansas City twice, so you can see how those implications will play out. Either way it goes, like Kansas City, one will win the division, the other will be a wild card. We'll see how it shakes out. Next in line, San Diego Chargers at 4-4. Phillip Rivers has done a great job this year. However, the running game has not been effective enough. Ryan Matthews and Danny Woodhead, they do a decent enough job averaging 100 yards on the ground, but it doesn't have impact. You know what I mean? It doesn't really have an impact on the game. The passing game is the main bread and butter, and at the end of the day, the Chargers can get in trouble when they come too one-dimensional. Now, rookie Keenan Allen at the wide receiver position has done a great job filling in for the injured Demar Alexander as well as Malcolm Floyd. This young kid has showed a lot of potential and talent. I really like his upside. Eddie Royal as a slot receiver doesn't have the best hands, but kind of excels around the goal line area, especially in short screens. And then Antonio Gates is still a very good player, although in my opinion he's lost a step. I do see defenses slightly having a little bit more time checking him, but at the same time he does draw a lot of attention to himself, especially from linebackers and safeties. He does have the reputation. On the defensive side of the ball, just not consistent enough. They do have some good players, Corey Leggett. They obviously lost Melvin Ingram early in the year. That was a big loss. In the secondary, Eric Weddle. They had some decent players, but just not a unit that is tough enough. They still give up a lot of points, and at the end of the day, that's a problem when you don't have a ball control offense. At the end of the day, I do see San Diego in the wild card mix right now. San Diego at 4-4. I can't see them coming in at 9-7. But again, I really feel strongly that 10-6 will be the mark to make it in the AFC. I say the Bolts have a 50-50 shot at making the playoffs. Last but not least, we have the Oakland Raiders at 3-5. Now this team is pretty much where you expected at this point. Terrell Pryor took over the quarterback position. He's done an excellent job running the ball on the ground. You do like the diversity there. But as far as the passing game goes, it's just not there. The wide receivers are not established enough. In the running game, this Darren McFadden is very unfortunate, but he's been banged up all year again, not able to produce on the field. When he's out there, we got a chance to see him a few weeks ago against Pittsburgh. The guy looks great, but he's just never on the field. And so that really limits what the offense can do until Pryor can be more effective, into the wide receivers. Denarius Moore, he's a solid receiver, but the Rod Streeter is decent as well. But they're just not guys who, Pryor is able to deliver the ball with accuracy to, because they're not getting that much separation, especially when the defense is kind of laying back, not respecting the running game. On the defensive side of the ball, average at best, front seven, you know how it is. Can bring pressure every now and then, depends on the matchup, sometimes at home. But we seen this past week, you let Nick Foles go off for 7 TDs on you. No disrespect to Nick Foles, but let any quarterback, though, 7 TDs on you in the game is unacceptable. That secondary is in shambles. Obviously, Charles Woodson coming over isn't doing too much good. And, with that type of secondary, you can't survive in this league. So the Raiders will not be in the playoffs. I don't think anybody expected that coming into the season. They'll likely be competitive, but they're irrelevant at this point. All right, that wraps up the AFC West. This is the NFL Exporter Ty Goodman. We'll be back and move right over to another AFC division.